Canada is diversifying trading partners because of the impacts of Trump's tariffs, and part of that strategy is reaffirming Canada's commitments to non-U.S. partners like Mexico. Dominic LeBlanc is leading a trade mission to Mexico with business leaders accompanying him.
It's been the most significant bilateral trade mission ever undertaken by Canada. So the private sector is showing up in record numbers.
The mission kicks off today with a focus on cooperation on tariff-affected sectors like manufacturing, agriculture, and clean technologies. But the mission comes as the Trump administration fuels uncertainty around the future of free trade in North America writ large. Arturo Sarukhán is a former ambassador of Mexico to the U.S., and I spoke with him about Canada's trade mission and the upcoming CUSMA review. Arturo Sarukhán, thank you for speaking with me again. Nice to see you.
A pleasure.
Canada is sending what it says is one of its largest trade missions to Mexico. All of this, obviously, in relation to the President of the United States and how trade is unfolding in the world. In your view, how important is this trade mission for both countries?
I think it continues sending a very important message to Mexico, to the Mexican government, that Canada is taking seriously the relationship with its trade partner, the need to deepen and widen Canada-Mexico dialogue and collaboration. I think the Prime Minister is walking the walk besides talking the talk. And it certainly comes at an important moment because, as we've seen this past week in Washington, there are signs that the review process, consultations, and dialogue, at least between Mexico and the United States, will start in the coming days. No mention of Canada. There was no mention of Canada in the rollout of this partnership on strategic, critical, essential minerals, where Canada should be playing a very important part. So I think this is an important sign for Mexico and Canada to redouble their collaboration, their dialogue, and their ability to engage with a common front, the Trump administration.
I wonder if there's some risk here for Mexico, though. Given what you've said, things seem to be going a little better for Mexico when it comes to securing a deal, keeping a deal with the United States. Is there any kind of risk of having this big trade mission and the president seeing this and wondering, why he should engage with Mexico in the same way?
Well, Rosemary, you're echoing the siren song surrounding the president of Mexico. Yes. There are many voices, unfortunately, in the government, in the private sector, who are saying precisely that. Let's keep a distance from our Canadian colleagues, simply because of the dynamics that have been set in place in the bilateral relationship between Canada and the United States, particularly after, I think, Prime Minister Carney's very brave, very important speech at Davos. But I think it's the wrong recipe. I think that if we've learned anything from this year of Trump in office and his return to the White House, is that appeasement and kowtowing and shadow boxing will not deliver the goods. They will take you so far. But at the end of the day, I think it is important for Mexico and the United States to be seen working hand in hand. I think it makes us both stronger in our relationships with the United States. I've never believed those Canadian voices either, who've said that trilateralizing the North America agenda wrests away, diminishes Canada's ability to engage with the United States. I think now's the time to present common fronts, because even though it seems likely that the dialogue and the conversation regarding the upcoming review of USMCA will proceed in two parallel bilateral tracks, at the end of the day, I think we will end up with some form of North American revamped agreement, and it is critically important for Mexico and for Mexico and Canada to coordinate their positions. It makes us both stronger.
Yeah, I wonder too a little bit about the relationship between China and Canada and Mexico. As you know, I'm sure you know, the Prime Minister was over in China, made a couple of strategic deals, including allowing Chinese EVs into this country. Hasn't happened yet, but will. That's something Mexico already does. Do you see any Any issues there around how we are positioning ourselves differently in relation to China, and given what the president's concerns are around China, how that might become an issue? Or maybe, to your point, maybe we're stronger given we both have that position.
I'd certainly start with that last point that you make. I think our sort of commonality of positions makes us both stronger. Having said that, there's no doubt that China will play the role of the 800-pound gorilla in the room or in the negotiations for the review of USMCA. But there's also a peril here, and we've seen it play out. The Trump administration is putting pressure on Mexico and Canada, on other partners around the world, to sort of strengthen their trade policies and tariffs vis-a-vis China. But at the same time, you see an administration that, despite the bluster, despite the trade war it has unleashed with China, is at the end of the day playing footsie with the Chinese under the table. So I think both Canada and Mexico have to be careful that as we seek to align policies so there's greater synergy and greater symmetry between the three North American partners as it relates to our trade dealings with China, that we don't end up being the two countries that, erect walls when Trump, in one of his typical U-turns, the day after tomorrow, allows semiconductors or chips for the intel and that have national intelligence and national defense implications go to China. So there's a bit of a delicate dance, I think, here, and calibration that both Canada and Mexico will have to follow. And I think that ability to talk to one another, exchange information, see what one is doing, what the other is doing, and how that is playing off our U.S. friends is going to be an important piece of this dialogue going forward.
What would you like to see come out of this trip? Obviously, the businesses, there's many businesses going, hoping to find new investment opportunities. What would be a good outcome for Mexico?
Well, I would certainly hope that we can really deepen and widen this bilateral relationship. I've always said that both Canada and Mexico have punched below their weight when it comes to our bilateral dealings. Yeah. I would like to see a much more energized trade and economic agenda. I'd like to see more dialogue on how we talk about North American perimeter security, of how we talk about North American competitiveness, resilience, but also about North American economic security. And I think that if that is a narrative that comes out as a result of the Team Canada visit to Mexico these past days, I think that could be a very important signal to Washington, D.C.
Okay. Arturo Sarukhán, really appreciate your time, as always. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Global Affairs calls the trip to Mexico one of the largest Team Canada trade missions to date, saying they received hundreds of applications from Canadian companies to join it. Canadian-based AI health and safety technology company QScreen AI is one of the companies that was invited to take part. And earlier I spoke with their CEO and director, Rahul Kushwah. Rahul Kushwah, thank you for joining me. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
We're recording this, but by the time it goes to air, you'll be in Mexico on this mission with Minister LeBlanc. It's supposed to be one of the biggest trade missions to date. Tell me why it's important for your company, an AI company, to be part of it.
So when I look at our company, QScreen AI, we're really at the junction of quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and healthcare. The key is we have a technology which is developed, which has been piloted, it has been tested, and now is the key component, which is commercialization. And being part of this trade mission allows us to be directly in front of stakeholders, institutional buyers, where we don't have to go through the whole process of going across multiple layers and getting to the decision makers. So with a company like ours, having a developed piloted technology, now is the time when we take it directly to these institutional stakeholders and move forward with commercialization. And along with that, having that blanket support of the government, it does give a lot of credibility, which adds to our whole mission.
And what is it about Mexico that I don't know if you were considering Mexico as a company before, or if it was really this opportunity that led you to think of Mexico as a place to develop your business? What is it about that country?
So there are two sides to it. I mean, one is, of course, this global trade barriers that we are seeing now. But on top of it, what we have been finding for the past few months is that there is a lot of money which is being invested into workplace health and safety in Mexico, and particularly in the automotive sector, manufacturing. And ours is a technology that addresses that unmet need. So it's like saying there was a market to begin with where a lot of money is being pumped in. There was nothing comparable out there, and we have a solution that fits in. And we couldn't get better access than being part of the trade mission going down to Mexico, where now we can have these meetings with stakeholders.
Will you be turning away from opportunities in the United States because you are worried about the way things have unfolded with the U.S. president?
Again, we'll be looking at it on a case-by-case basis. I mean, for instance, in the U.S., we are exploring some key opportunities, and that pertain more along the lines of avenues where we are not looking at Mexico, for instance. So there are some opportunities in the U.S. as well, but we are ensuring that there isn't an overlap between the opportunities we are exploring in Mexico versus the U.S.
So what does a successful trade mission look like then? What are you hoping to come back with?
Well, we are hoping to come back with perhaps a few memorandum of understandings where we have a distribution partner on the other end that is ready to work with us on commercialization front, or perhaps some LOIs where we have a potential buyer on the other end where they're like, okay, great, we want to get started with this technology.
Do you think that there is an openness to Canadian companies in a way that there wasn't perhaps before?
Yes, for sure. So what I'm finding now is, as we are looking at other international markets as well, there is perhaps a greater acceptance in terms of technologies that are coming out of Canada. Because first and foremost, they envision that it will not have the kind of barriers that are there right now with a few American technologies. Right. And on top of it, I mean, Canada has done a phenomenal job in basic R&D. I mean, I come from the academic world. I used to be a professor back in the day, so I know when it comes to that ground level R&D, Canada is sitting straight at the top. So that in itself offers some tremendous credibility that you don't necessarily get with other countries.
Okay, Rahul Kushwah, nice to meet you. Enjoy your time in Mexico. Appreciate it.
Thank you.